A young woman perished in a mishap and abruptly found herself within an enormous hotel. She had no recollection of how she arrived in this peculiar location. This is where her existence amongst a collection of unusual individuals begins. Will her tale have a happy ending? Remain with us to discover the answer. Our story commences with the young woman, immediately following her demise, discovering herself in an unfamiliar realm. Initially, she struggles to accept it, murmuring, "I must be dreaming." Her gaze then falls upon a sign indicating a hotel. She turns to see a colossal structure and decides to venture inside. To her astonishment, the hotel is utterly deserted. Just then, a gentleman, the hotel's manager, appears and welcomes her to the Shagari Hotel. He clarifies that this establishment resides between the world of the living and the deceased. "This isn't a dream," he states. "This is very much real. And, incidentally, I'm the fellow with the blazing head. You won't encounter anything quite like this back in the ordinary world." He presents her with a document to register in the guest ledger, but she declines, explaining she lacks funds and prefers not to remain. He reassures her, "Currency isn't necessary here. Your accommodations are entirely complimentary. Furthermore, there's nowhere else for you to be." Then, a peculiar incident occurs. She realizes her name escapes her. In that instant, Mr. Ratori, the assistant manager with a perfectly normal human visage, enters. He advises her not to fret, remarking, "I myself arrived a mere fortnight ago." He escorts her to her quarters, a spacious and exquisitely adorned chamber, leaving her utterly speechless. Mr. Ratori elucidates that the room is replete with objects connected to her recollections, potentially aiding in their retrieval. They commence their examination of the room together, but she becomes self-conscious and requests his departure. Once he exits, she resumes her search independently, finally uncovering a photograph. Concealed behind it is a ticket bearing the inscription. Suddenly, her memory sparks, and she recalls her name, Neko. The narrative shifts to Neko seated with the manager. She vividly remembers the celebration, yet remains baffled by her presence here. She also recollects an organization called 365 Sisters of Kyo and her anticipation for the gathering. Nevertheless, the specific details elude her. "Mr. Ratori proposes, perhaps you were involved in an accident returning from the festivities. Many of our residents don't comprehend their passing until their arrival." He explains her stay is mandatory until she pinpoints the exact circumstances. Neko resolves to occupy herself, prompting them to inform her of the darts, billiards, and radios provided within the hotel. She embarks on an exploration, eventually meandering into the dining area, where she inadvertently collides with another young woman named Rory. Rory expresses regret for the collision, and Neko inquires about her employment in the dining hall. Rory clarifies her role in the kitchen before departing. Continuing her exploration, Neko observes numerous secured chambers. Feeling a pang of hunger, she returns to the dining hall, discovering a lovely area stocked with a variety of beverages. A staff member named Mino greets Neko and inquires about her preferences. Neko requests refreshments, both solid and liquid. A gentleman named Kiriko interjects, endorsing the Mino sandwiches as exceptionally delicious. Neko settles in as Mino prepares her order. While waiting, Neko inquires about other guests, having not encountered any thus far. Mino explains that most residents are currently reposing in their rooms. Shortly thereafter, Mino presents Neko with her meal and a ginger beverage. Just then, a young woman enters. In place of a head, she possesses a large photograph. As her own memories remain elusive, she asks about the arrival of someone named Amaran, but they inform her he hasn't yet appeared. The young woman is noticeably distressed, as Amaran had pledged to assist her in searching her room. Neko realizes this young woman is also human. The manager enters, requesting his preferred drink, as it's his break period. Moments later, Ratori arrives to summon the manager back to his duties. Upon seeing Ratori, the young woman with the photographic head mistakenly identifies him as Amaran. She rushes towards him, questioning his whereabouts and lamenting her inability to function or remember without his aid. Ratori is taken aback, unfamiliar with her, but she insists he is a Maron, his appearance mirroring the Amaran from her world. Uncertain how to proceed, her distress intensifies. Rory intervenes, suggesting a collaborative solution, highlighting Ratori's role beyond guest escorting, emphasizing his responsibility for memory recovery. The manager mentions that during Ratori's previous search of her room, they discovered numerous divination tools. He speculates she may be a fortune teller, noting her face even resembles a tarot card illustration. However, this alone is insufficient for name or identity retrieval. The young woman interjects, demanding Ratori return to her room to assist her memory recovery. Ratori declines, but the manager instructs him to comply, explaining the room's potential transformation. Neko, perplexed, inquires about his meaning. The manager reveals the room's daily alterations, designed to aid memory retrieval. Kiriko adds, the hotel itself orchestrates these changes autonomously. Intrigued, Neko requests permission to accompany them to the young woman's room for observation. The manager consents and instructs the young woman to take both Neko and Atori along. Upon arrival, Neko is captivated by the room's beauty. She notices the scattered fortune-telling paraphernalia and inquires about their origin. The young woman explains, they were in that trunk, in the armoire. However, upon turning, the armoire has vanished, replaced by a bookshelf. The young woman states, they emerged from everywhere. The trunks, the writing desk, the armoire, even the end table. She's startled by the bookshelf, questioning, was this always present? Atori replies, it wasn't here yesterday. He retrieves a book, discovering peculiar inscriptions within. He questions the young woman about them, and she nervously admits their familiarity, yet they frighten her. Could this be due to my passing? She wonders. Neko spots a nearby photograph, but Tori retrieves it, remarking on the boy's resemblance to himself, yet clarifying it isn't Amaran. The young woman, however, recalls hearing the name Amaran mentioned in the bar earlier, triggering her memories. That's Agata Mamoru, a well-known internet broadcaster known as Amaran, the young woman clarifies. I was a follower of his before his rise to fame. Neko adds, having recently learned about him from news reports. He was wrongly apprehended for deception, causing a considerable uproar, she elaborates. But Tori notes the room's contents seem geared towards Amaran, rather than the guest herself. Neko explains, he professed to be a clairvoyant fortune teller, but it appears it was all fabricated. These are the divination tools he employed for sales. But Tori questions, why are his belongings present? This room should solely contain items related to the guest. The young woman confesses, I developed a dependency on his fortune telling. I adhered to every instruction and purchased all these tools. Atori then ventures a guess at her name, stating, your name is Hashina. Suddenly, she remembers it's accurate. Her name is Hashina. But Tori explains, once guests recollect their name and identity, they can finally reclaim their lost countenance. He inquires about further recollections. Hashina responds, I always believed that even if his abilities were fraudulent, it was inconsequential. His fortune-telling was crucial to me. As long as I followed his guidance, everything functioned smoothly. Then, one day, he contacted me, requesting a meeting. Neko comments, he wasn't merely a fortune teller. He marketed various merchandise, novelty toys, body pillows bearing his likeness, and more. Yet, none of these items materialized in your room. Hashina picks up a crystal sphere from the room, and suddenly her hands morph into a man's hands. The sphere shatters, and glass fragments rain down upon her, causing her to lose consciousness. Upon awakening, the manager is present. You weren't a fortune teller, he informs her, but someone became enraged and assaulted you, striking your head with a crystal ball. Stunned, Hashina utters, I simply desired Amaran to complete my fortune, that's all. I went to inquire. The manager replies, from his standpoint, he likely perceived a threat, particularly following his significant scandal. She sighs, I lost consciousness, yet it appears I remain among the living. The manager informs her, you will return to the world of the living and lead a fulfilling life. Hashina, however, is despondent. Without Amaran's fortune-telling, I'm uncertain how to proceed. Neko encourages her, your interest lies not in fortune-telling itself, but in Amaran. However, you can now forge your own destiny. Hashina finally departs the hotel, her memory restored. The manager expresses gratitude to Neko for her assistance. Atori acquiesces to Neko's request for employment at the hotel.